morning. It is August 9th, 2024. I am Mark Sebastian. This is Leisha Leslie, and this is Oshpit Live. We are here every Friday with you to talk what's going on in the markets. And Leisha, what a week. What a week. What a couple of weeks, huh?
Yeah. I think last night was the first night in several that we didn't have a big move.
Yeah, I think you're right. It has been pretty nutty. This all started with this Japanese yen carry trade that kind of blew up, but it's not like this came out of nowhere. Yeah, everyone likes to act like everything blew up on Friday.
Yeah.
It didn't. The market started to move while we were in Chicago for our option pit conference.
That's true.
We were talking about it. We were saying, boy, this is the beginning of something. And that is it. The market topped out on July 16th by its first big sell-off was the 24th, which was the last day of the option well, actually, that's not even true. We had a nice sell-off on the 18th. The 19th was interesting, but yeah, we had that big down day on the 24th.
Right.
That was really the warning signal that something was up.
That gap lower.
Yeah, with follow through.
Yes. Well, close the gap and then went down. Classic, gap down, consolidates down there, but then get a crazy up day. Everyone thinks it's over, and all it did was close the gap and then continue lower. Yeah. Which is interesting because that's where we are now, closing this gap. We're kind of hanging out there. I don't think it's over until we close this gap, till we're back over 5,400.
Oh, I kind of agree with you as well. Folks, there's no economic data today, but there's so much going on. We got plenty to talk about. The VIX futures are in a pretty heavy backwardation, and that generally means things are going to stay ugly, right? When VIX futures are backward, and folks, what I want you to do, you're looking at that curve that Leisha's showing you. I want you to, so there's that weird hump in there. And the reason, there's also an ad for Modelo. That weird hump there is because October actually looks at November volatility. And there is a event in November that people are paying attention to.
What is it?
I wish I didn't know. I'll be honest.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah. So what I want you to do is imagine that hump wasn't there, and that the October future was kind of just landing in between. There was that straight line, because that's just a weird little anomaly that I actually think is incorrect. I think there's a great trade there. But
you may want to briefly explain backwardation.
Yeah. I'm actually going to do a whole segment on backwardation, but briefly, backwardation means that the VIX cash, which is that green line, is trading above the August future, which is the first dot, which is trading above the September future, which is the second dot, which is without the election trading above October, which is trading above November, which is trading above December. So, generally speaking, you'll see like little mini backwardations or partial backwardations where the futures stay in contango, which is when it's the opposite. And I'm going to dig into this. Don't worry, folks. You don't need to this won't be on the test yet. But generally speaking, we'll see partial backwardations, but generally speaking, we're not in this formation very often. Only about 10% of the time. So when we are, you have to pay attention, and because that tells you that the market's in real stress. And that,
well, when you're thinking something could be going on in the market, you should always refer to this, right? Look, watch it. You should be watching it all the time.
Absolutely,
it has signals.
100%. And this thing, although interestingly, I thought VIX got a little caught flat-footed on Monday because, yes, it blew up to, Monday we blew up to, in the
65.
overnight session as high as 65. That's not really real because things were so illiquid on that open. I look at the high as more like, maybe 50 as a more realistic high for VIX. The close ended up being about 38 and in line, but we'd already started to move on Thursday and Friday, and I kind of warned people. I'm like, you get the bad Thursday, you get the worst Friday. That's the setup for the crash, right? Now we didn't get a crash, but we did get a pretty ugly Monday. And since then we've kind of pulled back. Alicia, what do you see in these charts? Because I'm thoroughly uncertain of what I'm looking at, other than I think I feel like there's another leg to drop, but I'm not sure.
I have to say, I agree with you. First of all, maybe we should look at the dollar yen just as a gauge of that carry trade. It's definitely trying to get off the mat. It traded down to a support level on my pitchfork and held it on the closes. Intraday traded below it, but we're always looking at the close, the real body, the colored part of the candle. This could be bull flagging and ready to make it up to the median line here, but still need to clear these highs, right? Well, it's cleared this one. So that's now support. Maybe it is. I don't know if that's a sign it's over. Possibly. Maybe a few people are still in there stranded. I don't know. But going back to SPX and the Qs, these moves are pretty violent, right? I mean, we had a 135 point reversal. That's pretty good. I mean, I know percentage wise it's not huge, but it is huge, right? We don't see that 2%. Too often. Yes. So I have my median line resistance and resistance of 53.29 right here. I think I wrote it last night. I think so. We closed this gap. We rolled over immediately, but then came back with a vengeance yesterday. I think it's going to literally try to trade up here at 54 again, close that gap, and then it's on, right? Bulls and bears will be battling it. Is it going to do the classic continue in the same direction lower? I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to trick everyone back in there, ride it back up to 54, and then smash it. So but they also like to rally into the election. So
I mean, it really, in what method can they trap the most people is what they're really trying to figure out.
And that would do it, wouldn't it? Everyone would say, oh, it's over, it's over. So that's a key area, 5,400, I think. Kind of the same idea, and the Qs have that, not as drastic of a gap, but it's still there. Still there, 457.29 on the Qs. That's going to be some major league resistance.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things that's really odd with this one is when you look at the other instances that we've had major VIX pops, there's always an outsized move in the market. And 160 points sounds like a lot, like the drop from Monday. It's not. It's 3%. It's 3%. The major times where VIX has gotten into the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the S&P has moved 5%, 7%. You know, it's made real moves. And you know, the breadth of this sell-off and the follow through the sell-off has been so lacking that, you know, it tells me there's something fishy going on, because we should have touched, you know, things should have been worse.
Well, is that telling you then that it isn't over?
It's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know. But if you go to like the obviously this hasn't, so people keep saying, oh, 2020. This is nothing like 2020.
Here's 2020.
Yeah, this is nothing like that. This is, if you see someone say, well, blah, 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 in 2020, immediately stop listening to them. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel the same.
Yeah. Well, because that was pandemic. We're about to enter a complete economic collapse short term. All right. The closest, I think, comparison is 2018 Volmageddon. And, you know, the other one that is kind of similar is 2015, when China devalued their currency. And Volmageddon, we saw the VIX blow up, but the S&P did have like a pretty nice aggressive sell-off. You know, you can see that big, huge wick there, that massive spike. That was a mechanical sell-off, just like this one, right? This is when I say mechanical, what I mean is like a trade is being unwound. It's not like, you know, some sort of fundamental thing like the economy's falling apart.
Right.
Not technical, like, oh, we've hit some moving average or something like that. It is straight up like a trade has to be unwound. And, you know, that, yeah, I mean, look at the move that we got in 2018 on, you know, kind of another mechanical sell-off. And, you know, look at where we are, and it's not very much.
Yeah. It looks more like this than like this.
Yeah. So, you know, if you want to be rosy, then, you know, the positive thing out of that Volmageddon move was VIX was below 20 by, you know, that took place in early February. We were below 20 in March. So there's that. All right, so there's SPX. What do you think about and we've looked at the Qs. Do you have other charts that you want to look at?
Let's look at the dollar itself. Oh, crude I would like to look at. Yes.
Yeah.
The dollar's trying to rally off of support here. It's kind of just consolidating there. I think crude's ready to take another leg higher.
Oh.
After being clobbered. Let me get rid of some of this. Seems to be, there we go. Yes, traded down to the median line. Kind of made you guess as it's consolidating, almost bear flagging, and then it breaks out of that up to the next support level. I think crude can come back up here almost 79. And then back up here maybe even. So yeah, I think crude's catching a bid for sure. Bitcoin is definitely caught a bid. That thing can move a lot in a day, huh?
It can move a lot in a day.
I have to say, I feel like Bitcoin rallies on the weekends. Do you ever notice that?
Huh. I had not thought of that, but I'm going to take a look.
I think like people need something to do. They don't get enough trading.
I'm going to buy some Bitcoin.
Yeah. Or just, I just feel like it rallies on the weekends. We have a really nice large green bullish candle created yesterday. Back above my resistance there is now support, 60,527. Now this looks like it wants to bull flag, and my next level 63,381. So I think this could try to make it back up to the top of this pitchfork.
People say that like it's a store of wealth, and I'm still up in the air.
Are you?
Yeah. Just because of the haircut that thing took on Monday, it was another one of that was stuck in that carry trade, I think. I don't know.
It did collapse along with everything else.
11%.
Yes. Yeah.
While we still have big inflation and while the market is tanking, I listen, I'm not a Bitcoin hater. I own Bitcoin. Let me be clear. Don't come after me. I love Bitcoin. But I'm still not fully clear on where it lands in terms of a store of wealth. You know what I mean? Or as an actual market hedge. Is it kind of I gotta think about. I just don't know. What do you think, Leisha?
Well, I have to say, look at El Salvador, right? They went full on currency, and apparently Scott and I were just talking about this the other day. I wasn't even aware of it. They have a new president there that kind of cleaned house.
Yeah.
And it looks like things are turning around in El Salvador, and they're using Bitcoin as a currency.
Oh, nice. Are you moving to El Salvador?
Not anytime soon, but supposedly threw all the druggies, all the drug lords and everybody in jail. So I don't know, something to look into. I don't know enough about it. Scott was just telling me about it. I wasn't aware, but there are a lot more. And you know who's the biggest owner of Bitcoin?
Who?
The U.S. government.
Oh.
As much as I believe it's confiscated. Don't quote me on that. I believe it's been confiscated, but they're the largest owner of Bitcoin. So there's I don't know. You can go down the rabbit hole on anything, right?
Yeah, you can.
Once you start going down, you're like, oh my God, I need more. I need more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you start reading stuff, it's interesting. If anything, it's interesting.
All right. So, let's Andrew is off today, folks. He's on assignment, but I want to circle back and look at a couple individual equities with you, and talk some earnings. First one is Apple, because this one is at the crux of this entire carry trade. A lot of people thought, and folks, and pay attention here, folks, because this is important. Monday, Apple on the open was down over 11%. A lot of people assumed that it sold off because Buffett announced that, or Buffett's statement was that he had sold half his position.
Right.
Now, who here thinks that Apple would drop 11% overnight because Warren Buffett is selling, not completely liquidating, but selling 50% of his position? Who here thinks that? Right. That would not happen. All right. So what was going on was part of this yen carry trade that you're hearing about all right, part of this yen carry trade you're hearing about was actually buying Apple because it is safe. It is the other way. It is safe, and it pays a dividend, and it has a yield. Thank you, Ken. And it has a yield. So the idea was that I'm not. If you want to understand this yen carry trade, go on YouTube and just search option ped, and I walk through the whole thing. But part of this yen carry trade was buying Apple for a lot of people. And so what happened was Monday, they had to sell Apple to convert, to then reclaim the treasuries they posted, to sell those, to then convert back into yen to pay off the loan. And that is why Apple was completely toasted. And that's why I think there's another shoe to drop there. And Apple's the only one of the major names that has not crossed its 100-day moving average. Did you know that, Leisha?
I did not. Actually, yes, I did. I learned it from you, though.
I learned it from you.
I learned it from you. Thank you. It does have some headwinds up here. It's really struggling to close over the 50-day.
Mm-hmm.
And these highs here, it can't trade over to begin to close that gap. And look, today we're down $2.
Oh yeah. It may melt down. All right, Alicia. Are there any other? Did you see Bumble?
Which one?
Bumble. BMBL.
Actually, I did. It came up on the scanner.
Oh, nice. Are you talking about your proprietary scanner you use in Option Shopper?
I am. Now, when you have a large gap like that, you need more evidence. You need a day or 2 days preferably, to make sure this is going to stay down here. And then generally it will continue lower when you get a big gap like that. There is support down here though for 460, but doesn't have much lower to go.
Funny story about this one. This stock, for some odd reason, there's one trader that sells out of the money puts in this one every month. They go out.
Really?
Yeah. They go out 1 month typically and sell like a 20 delta put that collects like 18 cents. They do it every single month. 2 days before earnings, they cover their whole position at a small loss. 40,000.
Look at this.
40,000 puts they covered 2 days before earnings.
Why?
They've made a ton of money. They always it never touches their put ever until yesterday on that gap, and they had already covered. And they never cover. They never cover. And
the stock trends lower.
2 days ago they covered.
As the stock trends lower. Maybe they just like those baby puts. You would think they would do something chunkier but I guess
I think they know the stock is what I'm telling you. And that's why. So they started selling this thing. They started selling puts at like 20, and then they sold the 18s and the 16s and the 14s and the 13s, the 12s, the 11s, and then they were short, I believe, the 8s. And like I said, 2 days ago, right before earnings, they covered, and this is the last, and Bumble has the worst gap ever. But apparently,
pretty, like you say, I guess he or she, if they're making money on it, it's working for them.
Yeah, no, this is somebody whenever I'm thinking like, it's a really interesting strategy. They've made a ton of money on it. Selling like 40,000 20-cent options every 3 weeks.
Not for my taste.
Not for my taste either. But like I said, I think they know that there's more to this story. I think they have a very clear understanding of what the stock is doing, which is weird because you wouldn't think like a dating app stock would have somebody that has that kind of knowledge and insight. But I guess so.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
I'm very glad I missed the dating app section of the.
Oh my goodness, me too. Even Grant says it ruins dating.
Yeah,
he's 20, 21.
Yeah, man up and just take rejection face to face. All right, listen. If I can marry Lauren, I didn't marry Lauren by taking, by being afraid of no. Let's just say that. All right.
You were persistent, I understand.
I was persistent, and I was thoroughly used to rejection by that point. But I think I think that's actually a life skill that young people don't have.
I agree. It definitely is. Your phone isn't the world. Your phone is not the real world, right?
Swiping left does not feel as listen, young people. Back in the day, you had to go to a bar and ask a girl if she wanted you to buy her a drink. And if she said no, that felt a lot worse than if she didn't swipe left or swipe right. Right?
A lot worse.
Yeah. Well, you didn't know. You never. You were in the driver's seat, right?
Usually.
Usually, with rare exception. All right. So we've talked about Apple. We talked about Bumble. What's your take on kind of the overall earnings season as a whole?
Well, I think you and Andrew were brilliant. Literally the week before, both of you agreeing, saying if these earnings are not excellent, we can't make new highs.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So you guys nailed it before it even started.
Yeah.
I can't take any credit for that. That was all you and Andrew.
All right. So I'm with you. Let's pivot into some stocks that we like. And Leisha, last week you were kind of bullish gold, and now you want to look at a new stock.
I like coin, and I like coin because it's down near the lows of my pitchfork and had this really nice bullish candle, bull flagging. It just needs to clear like 200, and I think it's back up. I think it's ready to head back up, something like this. Now, the question mark is the rest of the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin we've seen is part of the whole sell-off with that unwind carry trade. You may get a little bit of that in there, so maybe we wait to buy it, but it's down at the bottom. I'm thinking it's going to, as it has done, as you can see in the past, rebound from these lows, this upward trending support level. So overall, I like coin longer term.
Okay. I got a couple of names I want to throw out that I'm interested in. And first one is Honeywell.
Oh gosh.
I know. I love these boring stocks that they've been so ignored that I believe there's some opportunity there.
There was a guy that traded Honeywell when I was clerking, my very first market maker clerk job. Oh my God, he was the biggest crybaby. Every day he would come upstairs just sniveling. It's like, dude, go do something else. There's nothing worse than like a sniveling man, right?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Seriously.
Me.
Anyway, yeah. There is support here. Sitting support. Not that men can't be sad or have emotions. I'm not saying that. I better like.
No, there's a difference between.
You're allowed to have emotions. You're allowed to cry. I'm okay with that. Just not every day.
There's a difference between being emotional and being whiny. There's a difference.
Every day.
Right. It's like it's just like a kid, right? Like when a kid is legitimately sad, your heart breaks, right? But when they're like when they're whining because they're not getting their way, you want to slap them. You want to slap them. Yeah.
Right. Okay, Honeywell, sitting on support. You're struggling around the 200 day here, actually. Want to see a close above there. You like it long, or do you think it's going lower?
I like it long.
Yeah. I would wait for it to close over 200, Mark.
Okay. And then I wanted to take a look at international paper because one, there's actually some buyout rumors here. You know, I'm already long calls.
These are some stocks out of the past, though.
I know.
I can't even believe it's still around. I was a price reporter in iPaper. That was my first job.
Nice.
John and iPaper.
There you go.
That was a long
taking Leisha back to the past.
Yeah. That has a little bit of some resistance with your convergence of the 50 and the 21. So, but as long as you hold the support of these lows, lines up with that support there too.
All right. I like calls in both Honeywell and IP and have expressed that already, to be clear. These are two that I am long. Not at Option Pit, I'm only long in international paper. Some of those are just personal. Speaking of personal, it's time for Leisha's Legends.
Oh gosh.
This is this is a new segment of the show that we do when Andrew's out, where Leisha tells us a war story from the floor. So in Leisha's Legends, she's going to share with us a 1 to 5 minute ditty, depending on what she feels like talking about life on the floor. You guys enjoy and relax. I'm just going to disappear.
Drum roll is right. So Mark last night called me and said, hey, Andrew's not going to be on. Think of, come up with not come up with a story, but think about a story you'd like to share. And it's, oh my goodness, do I talk about personalities down there? Do I talk about, some craziness down there or a personal thing? And I only remember my losses. I don't remember any giant wins I've had. They didn't stick with me like my losses did. And we don't need my whole face up there, do we? Anyway, it was Christmas. So to preface that, I was an independent market maker. I traded with my own money. I did not work for anyone else. I had a backer. Initially, he put me up for $50,000, paid him back, and then he had my profits scaled for 3 years. So after my 3 years sentence with him, I was out on my own. All my own money. Everything I traded was my own. There's no such thing as that anymore. But it was Christmas time before that. So in a trading pit, there are always at least 2, maybe 3 really good stocks, high flyers, lots of paper. You made money in them pretty easily. Then there were the middle tier stocks that sometimes give you a little trouble, but generally you made money in them. Then there were the real crazy, trade by appointment stocks that the only time they traded was when Goldman Sachs came in and wanted to buy options in there, and you knew you were in trouble. Something was happening. And as a market maker in each pit, you were obligated to make markets in every stock out there. Well, not every guy did that. Not everyone did that. Of course, I did because it was the right thing to do, rule follower and all that, you know. And you earned your respect that way. The brokers knew that they could rely on you for a market, and they could. So, well, I can't even remember the name of the stock. I know it was like, it had an H in it. I can't even remember. It was around 1998. It's Christmas time. My grandparents are in from San Francisco. My parents are in from Arkansas. Everybody's at our house. And just, I don't even remember if it was immediately before, because I don't remember feeling worried about it. So maybe it was a week before that, whichever big house came in, and I can't remember if it was calls or puts. Either way, I didn't hedge enough. I was short units, calls or puts, short gamma. A big move in the stock, you get murdered. I was down at one point $250,000. Trading my own money. I couldn't, you know, back then Scott was doing his thing. We didn't talk about it. You know, we never said, oh God, I'm having a horrible day, or, you know, we'd be cranky or whatever, but I couldn't even just tell Scott that. So I'm all, Merry Christmas. In the meantime, I'm sweating that, oh my goodness, I got killed on this stock. Never forget it. Although I can't even remember the exact details. It was tough. It was tough. But like I said, I don't ever remember giant wins like that. I think they were more just consistent making money. I survived. I did well down there. It was awesome. Best job you could ever have. Quite honestly, when you're there at the time and you're in the moment, you have no idea how good it was, because we'd all walk around complaining that it was terrible when we were all making money. Yeah, that's my horrible, horrible war story.
I think every market maker has a terrible war story. It's similar.
That was my biggest loss.
Yeah.
One day loss. Yeah. It was a lot.
Yep. I've had one of those. Not fun.
Yeah. Oh,
so
it's a Christmas time. I'm like trying to be happy.
All right. So Alicia, I'll give you a quick breather because I'm going to share what is, we've been talking about backwardation contango. So I've been pumping this VXX trade for that I am going to do, and I'm going to make a lot of money on it when it happens. But the reason why I haven't done it is because VIX futures are in backwardation, and this is what backwardation looks like. So backwardation is when the cash index is trading above the front month future, which is trading above the next future, which is trading above the next. Now, obviously, things are the October. I talked about that earlier, but we were actually in when things got really hairy on Monday. Things got so bad that even September was over October. Now, we're only in this a very tiny percent of the time. A very tiny percent of the time. Probably about 10% of the time. Then there is this concept of partial backwardation. That's what this is. This is when the VIX is trading above the VIX futures curve, but the curve itself, you can see August is trading below September, which is trading below October, which is trading, if without that bump, would be trading below November, and so on. So that's called a partial backwardation. What we are in most of the time, about 81% of the time, is called contango. And this is from July 2023. And this is what contango looks like. And this is what we see most of the time. And contango is when the cash index is trading below the future, which is trading below the next, below the next, below the next, and so on. And why are these important? Because these contango is what produces negative returns in VXX. And what are those negative returns? Well, if you look at a 6-month chart in VXX, looks like, hey, look, it's up over 6 months. Rare. Let me pull a 5-year chart of VXX. VXX is currently $62. If you bought it on August 8th, 2019, you'd be down $1,650 a share. And it has to do with the mechanics of these products. You heard me say mechanics. The market has way more mechanics to it than you probably realize. There is a lot of mechanical functions within the market. And so when we see a mechanical function break, that is when we have these major events outside of like a COVID. So the things that cause major bear markets are typically economic, so fundamental. But the things that cause these short-term major spikes in the market are almost always mechanical. 2018, 2015, and you're saying, well, I don't remember 2018. Well, take a look at the VIX. So here's 2018. This is called Volmageddon. The VIX went from 13 to 52 over the course of about 3 days. Another instance of this happening was in 2015. Look at us there. Here we go. August of 2015. This is when China devalued their currency. Again, we go from a 15 VIX to a 53 VIX in 1 to 3 days. Now, most of the time, these do play themselves out in about a month. But there's usually, if you look at the market during these times, a bigger move. This was about a 12% move. 2018 was about 11. So when you say, Mark, why do you think there's another shoe to drop? It's because of that. All right. We are running up against it. I mean, we are really running up against it. Leisha, futures are currently down about 10 points in the S&P. NASDAQ futures off about 0.5%. What are you thinking for the day?
You know, I like to say it's going to take a breather, but I don't think it is.
No, not a chance.
But although last night, like I said, go ahead.
I think we're going to be down.
Last night was the first night it kind of did take a breather. I think down, but not crazy. I don't know why. I just feel like it's not going to get crazy. Do you think it's going to get crazy?
I don't think crazy, but I think we're going to be down. I think we're going to swallow most of yesterday's gains.
Oh, well, that could be crazy. That was a big move.
Yeah, you know, what was it? About 2%. So I don't know. We're gonna follow, have a full 2%, but more than 1%. But with the VIX in the 20s, you should expect more than 1% anyway. So that's what I'm looking for. All right. Well, folks, that's all the time we have. It is 8:18 Central Time, 9:18 Eastern. We're gonna open up markets here in a second. Leisha, thanks for your time, and thanks for that awesome war story. You were one of Alicia's legends. And so for Alicia J. Leslie, the Queen of the Candles, I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. We'll be back next Friday, as we're here every Friday for Option Pit Live. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.